with armamentarium, we start tooth preparation, which is the next step in your examination, following all the basic fundamentals of tooth preparation. Just many of the things have been covered by Dr. Abrar, but just again we will go through it as far as class 2 silver amalgam preparation is concerned. So first thing is the outline form, or also it is written as the outline form with initial depth. In some books, it is written outline form with initial depth. So what is the definition? Definition is, again you can be asked the definition of outline form. So outline form is defined as placing the preparation margin to the place they will occupy in the final tooth preparation, except for finishing the enamel walls and margin. Okay, so placement of the margins is outline form, and also it maintains the initial depth of 0.2 to 0.8 millimeter inside the dentine in a normal tooth. Otherwise, in the Ivorine tooth, if you are doing your exercise, it is 1.5 mm initial depth which you should have. So, what are the principles which are followed for outline form? Removal of all weakened tooth structure, removal of all undermined enamel. All faults in the tooth surface should be incorporated in your outline form. All the margins placed in the position which can be there in the final position. Again, in outline form, we should avoid ending the preparation margin in high stress bearing areas. If the thickness of enamel in between the two preparation is less than 0.5 mm, then we should connect both the preparations. So to achieve these objectives, our number as shown in the picture, our number 245 mm burr should be inserted in high speed from either the mesial or distal pit. Now in your exam, you start preparing a class 2 preparation where you insert this number burr at a good speed. It should not be very slow, and you should insert this burr either in the distal or mesial pit. But the burr should be parallel to the long axis of our mounted tooth. The initial depth of 1.5 millimeter should be achieved. Again, I'll revise how to be sure that it is 1.5 mm. It will be exactly half the length of this burr. So it should be established, and then the burr should be moved to include all the pits and fissures of that occlusal anatomy of that ivorine or extracted tooth. Okay. So we get an initial outline form. There can be a question about factors which are affecting the outline form of a occlusal preparation. So these factors are extension of caries lesion, caries index of the patient, age of the patient. These are all important factors which determine the outline form. Because we follow for silver amalgam the G.V. Black's principles of extension for prevention. So again in the examination this can be asked to you, what is extension for prevention? So the meaning of it is the principle followed by placing the margin of preparation at areas that would be cleaned by exertion of food during chewing with the objective of preventing recurrence of caries at the margin of the filling where the recurrence is mostly seen. So extension from prevention means you have to extend the tooth preparation to all these areas which is not susceptible for another carious insult, self-cleansing areas. So that is extension for prevention, which is followed for silver amalgam and also for cast restorations. So while preparing buccal and lingual wall, we should maintain the tilt of the burr in such a way that we get an occlusally convergent preparation. Now all the silver amalgam preparations are occlusally convergent for buccal and lingual wall, so that there is mechanical interlocking of the restoration. But this the tilt should not be there for mesial and distal wall. Rather, the wall should have a slight divergence. So mesial and distal walls either should be straight or it should be slightly divergent. The buccal and lingual wall should be occlusally convergent. Why the mesial and distal wall should be straight or slightly divergent? This process removes unsupported enamel in that area So that's a marginal ridge area. So when we remove unsupported enamel, that area becomes stronger. So it won't collapse under masticatory load. So this will be the final look of the occlusal preparation before extending the preparation into the involved proximal part. So the area joining the occlusal segment, as you see in the picture, and the proximal segment or the proximal box is known as the isthmus area. And this area is most susceptible to fracture of the restoration. So we should keep in mind that the isthmus area should be narrow, it should not be very wide, and it should have proper depth so as to accommodate sufficient amount of the restorative material. So the isthmus width should be as narrow as possible, not more than 1/4 the intercuspal distance, or it should be 1 to 1.5 millimeters in your preparation during your examination. So there are certain objectives for proximal box preparation. So we'll see how proximal outline form is prepared. So we have to start preparing the proximal box and extend its preparation until the sound structure, we get the sound structure. So we have to extend the proximal box. Caries won't be there, but otherwise in clinical situation, we have to involve all the caries and we have to end the preparation till we meet sound tooth structure from all the end. All the cavo surface margins, means the preparation margins which are contacting the external surface. So all the cavo surface margins should have a 90-degree butt joint preparation. And the clearance not more than 0.5 millimeter with the, these are all viva questions. It can be asked, how is the cavo surface margin in a class 2 preparation or in a class 1 preparation for silver amalgam? So they should all have a 90-degree butt joint. What is the exception to it? The exception to it can be asked as viva. It's a gingival cavo surface margin which should not be a 90-degree. It should be beveled, okay, in a permanent tooth. Otherwise, all the other cavo surface margin should show a butt 90-degree joint. How much should be the clearance with the adjacent proximal surface? It should be not more than 0.5 millimeters. So how it is achieved? The initial, how the proximal boxes is achieved. Initial procedure is to start with a proximal ditch. Either you have to prepare a meso-occlusal or distal-occlusal. So accordingly, you start preparing a proximal ditch as shown in that diagram without completely removing the marginal ridge. So don't completely extend it, just initial gain a depth along the proximal box. So the burr will start moving gingivally and followed dento-enamel junction, which will be there in extracted tooth, but won't be there in an ivorine tooth. So, and we should follow the curvature buccolingually as well as occluso-gingivally. So theoretically, the depth of the axial wall should be 0.5 to 0.8 millimeter into the dentine from the dento-enamel junction. So 2/3 at the expense of dentine as well as 1/3 at the expense of enamel. So again, the question will be asked: how much should be the depth? How much should be the depth of the axial wall inside? So the answer should be 0.8 millimeter and 2/3 at the expense of dentine, 1/3 at the expense of enamel. The important again aspects of axial wall preparations. So again, it can be defined as it's an internal axial wall is an internal prepared wall that is parallel to the long axis of the tooth and is placed in dentine in order to obtain bulk of the restoration, placements of retentive locks if needed, and resistance from the preparation. Right? So a question can be asked to you: how will you define the axial wall? So axial wall is an internally prepared wall which is parallel to the long axis of the tooth. Okay, and another question can be asked: why it is placed deep in the dentine? So there are 3 important answers to it. One is to allow sufficient bulk of the restoration. Another, if needed, secondary retention, we can give retentive locks there. And third is resistance form of the preparation. So axial wall should never be concave. It should either be straight or it can be convex along the contour of the proximal area, but it should never be concave because of the pulp which is there. It's layered, so it should never be concave. It is taken that while all this preparation is going on, the thin shell, as shown in that picture, the thin shell of enamel over the preparation is kept intact to protect the adjacent tooth coming in contact with the burr. So again, in exams, the examiners see whether you have done damage to the adjacent tooth or not. So how to prevent damage to the adjacent tooth? By keeping this thin layer, external thin layer of the tooth or of the ivory tooth intact. It can be removed at last. So this can be later removed by enamel hatchet. If you have a hand instrument whose name is enamel hatchet, that is used to remove these kind of enamel, undermined enamel. Right? So while preparing the proximal wall, it is important to keep again, it is important in these diagrams you will see the importance of keeping the 90-degree butt joint in the proximal box. Okay, so KO surface angle should be 90 degree because otherwise either the restoration will fracture or the tooth will fracture because of the joint, which is not any other angle other than 90 degree, will cause problems. Further, it will cause marginal ditching in that area, which will lead to plaque accumulation, which will lead to secondary caries, again which can lead to further sensitivity in the tooth, in patient's tooth, or it can lead to further pulpal pathology. So to avoid all these things, it should be a 90-degree joint. So this again, the diagram here, it shows that as we have discussed that the adjacent tooth, it should be cleared with a distance of 0.5 millimeters. And how to check it? The examiners quite often they check it with the help of explorer. Gingival seat. What is a gingival seat? Gingival seat is also known as a gingival floor. Is a prepared wall which is flat and perpendicular to the occlusal force or to the long axis of the tooth. So when an examiner asks the definition of gingival floor or gingival seat, you have to tell that it is a prepared wall which is flat and perpendicular to the occlusal forces or to the long axis of the tooth. So it is extended beyond the contact area or up to the proximal lesion, whichever is more. It is mandatory that it should be kept flat. So it's very important that we keep this gingival seat or gingival floor flat so that the masticatory forces are distributed equally in this region. So this is very crucial in your preparation. Also, the width of the gingival seat, gingival floor in the molar tooth which you are using for your exam should be around 0.8 millimeter to 1 millimeter with the same formula, 2/3 in dentine and 1/3 in enamel. The straight position of the burr, we are using that burr, it should go straight inside and that will give us a flat gingival floor. So clinically to protect, not clinically, when we are doing patients, if we are doing this process and there is rubber dam there can be, so to protect that rubber dam from getting teared, many times wedges are used in that area. So wedges will protect the rubber dam and it can protect the gingival margin also, and it will protect the bleeding of gingival area in that